on the cloud. Hey everybody, Julie Murphy here and Rita Hickman, and we are here on Awaken Your Relationships. Why? Because we work things out and we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, or through our relationships. I'm the money chick, Rita's the relationship chick, and don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and notification bell, whether it's my channel or Rita's channel, because guess what? We are here to help the world, and please, could you do us a favor and share it? Because we want to help everybody get to a life that they absolutely love. Rita, today we're chatting about the fastest way to adapt to this new world because change is happening quickly.
Oh yeah, it's super interesting. I've followed shamanic work for a long time, and in Mayan cultures and South American cultures and older indigenous cultures, they're all saying that it's speeding up.
Yeah.
And all the thought leaders are saying that opportunities are going to happen faster, but the doors are going to close faster, and you have to get up to pace because it's no longer where you stay in the same job for 50 years, and then retire. It's
so true.
People aren't staying with the same person, for 50 years as often,
Yep.
People are changing, they're adapting, they're evolving.
And one of the things that I have learned that you have taught me, and I would love for you to reinforce for everybody today, is how, because you can't adapt, you can't shift quickly unless you calm your nervous system.
Oh yeah. It's hilarious. I can't tell you how much time I spent thinking about people's nervous systems. And I mean,
sounds kinky.
all the freaking time. I'm obsessed about people's nervous system, and it's crazy. It's all I talk about. It's all I think about. When something happens to us that we can't figure out, we take a snapshot of it, like a 3D snapshot, and we put it in our brain.
Right.
And then we start to protect it. And every time we get close to it, if we're not ready to look at it yet, it scares us away, and we go eat cookies, or we go buy things, or or we
you do whatever your coping mechanism is.
Yeah, you do it. You have a fight with your boyfriend, whatever. You do whatever it is that you do.
Right.
And you avoid it.
Totally.
But what happens is you have a big, gigantic blind spot now. Part of you that you have cut off from yourself, a wound, right, old feeling that you just haven't, you haven't connected with. And so if you aren't present and calming your nervous system down, you are going to get screwed over.
Annihilated. Well, you're going to create disease in your body is what you're going to do.
One, but two, you're also going to be, you're going to be inauthentic because you're going to constantly, be reacting.
Yep.
Self. So you're going to create more fights. You're not going to get the raises. You're not going to have the friends. Your relationships are going to fall apart.
And then you're going to get addicted to the adrenaline of it not working out. And then you're in your suffering patterns. And then it's that whole thing of misery loves company.
Yeah. I mean, just think about the women who came before us. We didn't have enough information. And so they stayed in bad jobs, bad relationships, bad lives for their entire life. They got stuck for decades.
No, thank you.
And we can't, those women did not suffer just so that we would continue to do the same thing that they did, which is sacrifice ourselves by not calming ourselves down, by not getting back into our bodies so that we can really see what's going on. As long as we stay angry, hurt, anxious, depressed, frustrated, or even overjoyed, we're not able to make good decisions, and our life will not get better.
Totally. And you know what? I've realized this last week, so we don't understand on some level how we're so connected in our nervous systems to how things show up in our lives or don't show up in our lives. And it has everything to do with the expansion or contraction that's happening inside your physical body.
Oh.
And then when we fight in our relationships, let's just take like my world, like, right? I was really clear through my divorce process. I have to unplug from the fight, unplug from the fight, unplug from the fight. Because I remember sitting in that courtroom sweating bullets and trying to unplug and meditate and not plug into actually the things that were being said or the assumptions by the attorneys or the whether it was my attorney or his attorney, it didn't matter. They all were going through it from their hourglass. And you know what? I've realized, shit, we hired more professionals to try to get us through this process. That just adds layers you may not want because you're getting somebody else's nervous system in there that that totally jacks and pulls you off your because maybe they have to hit their quota for their billable hours for their law firm and really it all boiled down to the fact that my ex and I, both of us, were not actually paying attention to what we needed to do in the inside. We were letting other people drive the engine as opposed to ourselves driving the engine.
Yes.
And that goes for both of us. It wasn't him or me, it was both. And it was all fear driven, and it was all a hijacked nervous system on both sides driven. And you cannot adapt today. Things are moving way too fast. And I wrote this down before we recorded today is the fact that it's your surrender process. It's your trusting and saying, because it's going to move so fast, or it is starting to move fast. It's not that it's going to. It is. It already is starting to move very fast. That you're going to have to detach. I mean, even just look this morning. Rita and I were having some technical troubles to get on here, right? So we can either surrender into what is, and I was way more not chill than Rita, right? But it's like we can either surrender into that and adapt and shift, or you can get all nutted up and then create the rest of your day to be a snowball effect from that, nervous system being hijacked in whatever that is. And you can't do that in the fast pace of today.
And do you remember how you went from not being chill to being like, okay, yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to do? It just took 2 seconds. It just took me saying, well, what does your heart want? We literally have to get down into the physical space of our heart if we want to communicate authentically with people and let go of our fears.
And you always say, it's like, God, these gurus say something and it's like way up here. And it's like, well, how the hell is that tangible? This is another one of them. They always say, love solves all. And I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like going, how, like in my money world, love solves it all? Really? Well, I'm in money. There's, but I understand that on another level of saying, if you love the job that you do, you get paid more money. If you're passionate about what you do, because you're raising your vibration. But what does your heart want? Like that makes it tangible. It's a way of presenting it in a way that if your nervous system's hijacked up, all you do is walk around your house and ask yourself the question, well, what does my heart want? What does my heart want? Until you actually clue into it.
Right. And the easiest way to do it is just to put your hand on your heart.
And breathe.
Yeah. Well, your breathing is going to slow just by putting your hand on your heart. Your breathing will slow. Your brain will go, why is your hand on your heart? And pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Once you pay attention to it, then the information comes in and then it comes out your heart. We don't realize that we broadcast what we feel and we think over 8 miles. When we are in a good space, our bodies are vibrating antennas that send information out and everybody can feel it.
It's like, what is I always tell people, I'm like, well, what's your financial, I call it a lighthouse. What's the light on your lighthouse flashing? Like, is it, I'm in debt. But guess what? All you're going to create is debt because that's all you talk about. That's all you think about. That's all you feel. Or is it like, I'm expanding, everything's coming to me, blah, 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 You have to be careful what your beacon is that you're blasting out there, right?
You want to know what my story was that I've been working through? Because, I love working with you because you get my head straight about money. I've got the relationship stuff down. That stuff doesn't, faze me. But I spent so much of my life figuring out relationships, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to figure out my money too. So
it's your relationship with money.
right. So I've run my business for like 15 years, and my thought process was always like, oh my God, how am I going to pay the bills this month? Oh my God, how am I going to pay the bills this month? And I never reached the point in my life where I felt like, oh yeah, no, I'm paying the bills. It's fine. Because I was always going, oh no, oh no, oh no. That, oh, I am paying the bills. And then the next question was, how do I make an additional $1,000 next month?
Did you make it the next month?
I'm starting it this month. I don't know yet. But
okay, but okay, your words, yes you do. Yes I am.
Yes I am. It's so exciting. I'm like, wait. So I'm super tuned into my body, and I know when I'm releasing something, because when I'm releasing something, usually something will vibrate, my lower back, something in my arm, because it's my nervous system letting go of held tension like a coiled spring. And every time we come to peace with something, or we tell a truth, or we get back to centered. Remember when you were in the mediation with the divorce, and you were sitting there, and you're sweating, and your body's shaking, and you're havening your ass off, and you're tapping, and you're doing everything you can do. That's
trying to transmute it.
Yeah, it's a physical reaction. And so I'm saying to myself, oh, how am I going to make an extra $1,000 next month? And my arms started to just pulse. And it was like, oh, because after 15 years, I shifted out of how am I going to
left your body.
Month? Yep, it left my body. I went from how am I going to pay the bills this month? Oh no, to I'm already paying the bills. How am I going to make an extra grand? I could have a lot of fun with that money. You know, how would I?
This is where we don't understand how we manifest our worlds. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I wanted to really talk. We started to talk about this earlier, but I wanted to talk about this live because, you know, I've really started to, now that you've really taught me how to calm my nervous system, which, much gratitude.
What a blessing, right? It's like you were set free. You're like,
oh, it's so interesting that, and I even have to tell you that we're moving, and yeah, I know, right? And I know, right? Like, what the hell are you talking about? We're moving to a house. So I live in a high rise currently. We're going to move to a house. Kids have the land. I'm dying to garden. I want to ground. And now that, it's funny, when my nervous system used to be hijacked, I was up high in a high rise. And now I want to ground more with the earth, which I think is point number one, which is really funny. So those of you who are watching, like, what is your physical environment? Like, what I realized is that the energy of where I am today was single Julie and married Julie. And I never really actually moved into the grounding of a home and creating home, right? And I know, right? And so what was interesting is full circle is in dream. Hard to believe. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Because my ex-husband then calls and says, I think me, you, and the kids need to go to dinner and talk about the dream of the new place so that everybody's voice is heard. Right? Look at the look on your face.
That's just weird.
Well, so I surrendered. Okay, so things are changing.
Like $900,000 bazillion in order to.
So here's what I'm learning. This change that's happening so fast, it's happening to everybody. That you really have to let go of every story. And we've talked about this, like let go of every story.
Good story,
every
bad
single
story.
one of them. And at that moment, because my nervous system is no longer hijacked, I first sat there going, oh God, do I need to go to protective mode? What's the agenda? What's the, where am I going to be attacked? Blah, blah, blah. And all that was my story. And I just surrendered into, and I said a prayer, and I go, yes, I think our children would love that. Rita, if you could have seen the look on my children's faces, it was like they won the lottery.
I'm so proud of you.
And we had a decent meal. I will call it decent. It wasn't phenomenal. But it was neutral. And we both taught our children that just because you come from a different viewpoint, you don't necessarily have to fight about it. Like, that was all worked through in that meal. And I don't know where we end up But all 6 of us, and it was the first time in 4 years since our divorce that all 6 of us sat at a table by ourselves.
Wow.
Nobody else was there because it wasn't a safe enough container for anybody to do that before then. And so I want to share with people that you really have to let go of those stories, because you have no idea how this pandemic and everything else has shifted other people. Now you have to be in your new self, in your new power, but watch what stories you bring to the table that create the new reality. And to me, what I understand in being the divine feminine energy is holding very healthy boundaries for myself, but also allowing expansion and holding that safe container and adapt. Like, it's holding the space. Part of the magic of the divine feminine is holding space, but the piece of holding the space has also got to be holding extremely strong boundaries.
Yeah, people don't realize, we're taught, somehow we have this vision that healthy people are always calm, they're always centered, they don't have emotions, they don't get mad. And in reality, if you want to be healthy, you have to set really strong boundaries, and you have to hold them firm, because otherwise you fall back into the stories you've told yourself before. You have to tell yourself you're not doing this anymore.
And I am living proof of what you always say in relationships, is that if you change your inside, the outside all changes.
And it's true across the universe. That's the law across the universe. Change how you think and feel, and everything outside of you changes as well.
And that goes for your relationships and your money, because in my world, on the money side, you know what? If you think that you're always struggling, you will always struggle. If you choose your happiness, because the key to all of this is like, well, what does your heart want? That was the magic of that dinner of the 6 of us, was that it was all about, well, what does everybody's heart want? And there's no reason why all 6 hearts can't be fulfilled. Because it was interesting. Even as I reflected past that dinner, we're not on the same page in terms of where that move is, but we're both going through our own process for that. And I realized going, oh, he just needs to land where he wants to land, and it doesn't matter. But what it is I'm understanding that when we're in relationships, and this also, we use money as a tool in relationships to control other people, right? Money is just that tool. So the question is how do you then hold that space and allow the other person to make a choice that you don't necessarily agree with, but you just continue. You don't have to give up yourself just because somebody else doesn't agree with you. So, like, I find financially people do that all the time in marriages. It's like one of the two doesn't honor that the other person has a different opinion. And then they tried, because they're stressed out about that, they try to entrain, and you've taught me that control and entraining then is a way that we try to reduce our own stress. And that's an unhealthy way of doing it. And all those tactics are not going to work these days because it's changing way too fast. You're going to create more anxiety, more stress, more hijacked nervous system, which then is going to make you not adapt to the change, and then you're going to create disease in your own body. So this is where the surrender comes into play, whether it's financially or in relationships. We've got to do this these days.
Oh, yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you'll get eaten alive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's just got to be done. It's great stuff. Great stuff. And I don't know, are you seeing on the relationship side, how are people like adapting? So I shared my story. What are you seeing anything else on the relationship side these days?
Women are changing faster
because I think men are having a hard time.
Yeah. Women aren't getting remarried because they don't want to take care of guys in their old age. If they got divorced or widowed or whatever, they're not walking back into that. Women are joining communes with each other. They don't want to have relationships with men. They don't want to tolerate the toxic, energy that they're struggling with many times.
Yep.
with power and in a patriarchal society. And so women are starting to step into things.
Yep.
You know, there was always the phrase lean in, and I never really liked that because it always felt like women just had to work harder.
Right.
No, but women are drawing the line where they're like, I'm not going to work harder for everybody else and suffer. They're not doing it because with everything sped up, they don't have the resources and the resilience to keep doing what they're doing. And they're coming down with cancer. They're coming down with fibro. They're seeing their friends die. They're seeing their family members die. They're seeing their parents die without them having closure on the relationships. And they're not willing to tolerate that anymore. They're not willing to tolerate the old ideas of control and manipulation. And they're stepping into their feminine energy. And there's a real movement. There's a real movement of women saying, we know there's better and we're going to move towards it. Whereas a lot of men are still many times stuck. Women are going to have to lead the way.
Well, you know, I have one of my other teachers. His name is Elliott Jackson. And you know what? He is a really, really great, he's written like 10 books. And he talks about in these books, that the woman is the leader and the man is the head. And the challenge has been that the patriarchal masculine energy has gotten so out of whack because women have not stepped into their power.
Exactly.
And I always say financially, like women are not being paid equal to men because women don't love themselves enough to hold the line going, I'm quitting if you don't pay me what I'm worth. And so it's about being
love themselves enough because they weren't taught how to, and they don't know what it looks like. And we didn't even associate, you know, for the last 50 years, we've associated going to the spa with selfish and self-absorbed instead of realizing that it's self-care. It's how you take care of your body. It's how you calm down your heart and your soul. It's how you deal with your problems. You know, you get centered and relaxed. You get out of the high rise and into the house. Right. You know, you get your feet on the ground, and women have been traumatized, and that's kept them from moving into that groundedness, that community, that back and forth of care, not just sacrifice.
Right.
So things are changing. And if you're stuck in the past thinking, oh, woe is me, then you're missing the boat because a lot of people are moving forward at a really fast speed. And if you can't keep up, you're going to be left behind wondering why you're stuck in the same marriage with the same debt, with your kids that have problems, because you just closed your eyes to it, you know, totally instead of stepping into solving it.
Yep. And you know what? I think it's really, really important for us to continue to, we have to take a step back, you know, like, I was grateful yesterday. I had a client appointment that canceled because it gave me the space to shift to what I knew needed, which was the highest next expansionary thing to do. So I've been suggesting to clients and stuff like that, like, how can you find the space to almost like have unstructured time? You know, the pandemic, when we had the lockdown, it gave people that space. I want people to be very intentional right now to continue to choose that space, to continue to choose that, you know what, if you really don't want to commute back to your office and that's what your employer is requiring, then you go find another employer. Because here's what I've learned is that some of these other people are like, the employers are coming back going, okay, maybe we're not going to require this because so many people are telling them this is not the way to run the business today. But if you're not tuned into your heart, you won't do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have to get going.
No worries. All right. And so any last words for everybody?
Let's see. You know what? Trust yourself. If you're a woman, trust yourself. Because that's the thing that's broken down. We stopped trusting our own feminine energy. We stopped trusting ourselves.
Right.
And we gave up our knowledge and our information to other people instead of realizing that we can decide for ourselves what's right for us. And even if we're wrong, we're at least making the choice for ourselves.
Yep. Beautiful. So make those choices for yourself. And everybody, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And most importantly, please share this, because I know if you're not the person that needs these messages, someone in your world does, because this is where the expansionary edge is. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.